The Impossible Project. Commander Elena Reyes stared at the holographic display, watching as another simulation ended in catastrophic failure. The virtual station disintegrated in a flash of blue light, leaving behind nothing but simulated debris. This marked the 23rd failed attempt this month. Still not stable, she muttered, pushing herself away from the console. The observation deck of Titan Station offered a spectacular view of Saturn's largest moon, its methane lakes glistening under the distant sunlight. But Elena barely noticed the view anymore. Dr. Sanjay Mehta looked up from his workstation, dark circles under his eyes betraying weeks of minimal sleep. Unlike the other scientists who showed signs of defeated exhaustion, his gaze remained sharp and determined. "The conventional approach isn't working," he said, manipulating equations on his tablet. "We're thinking about this all wrong." Elena crossed her arms. "The council representatives are requesting another meeting. They're bringing in the High Arbiter this time." The entire lab fell silent. The High Arbiter of the Galactic Council rarely involved themselves in what they considered minor disputes. Their presence indicated just how seriously the Council was taking humanity's continued defiance. For nearly 8 decades, humanity had been trying to develop independent wormhole technology. The existing network, controlled exclusively by the 3 elder races of the Council, required immense energy, the equivalent of a small star's output for each jump. This limitation kept most species bound to their home systems, dependent on the Council for interstellar travel rights. The Council claimed stable, low-energy wormholes were physically impossible. Every race that had attempted to create them had either failed or suffered catastrophic accidents. The official position was that such research was prohibited for safety reasons. Sanjay stood, stretching his back. "I want to show you something before the meeting." He led Elena to a restricted lab module at the far end of the station. Inside, a complex apparatus dominated the center of the room, a tangle of superconducting rings surrounded by quantum field generators. "What am I looking at?" Elena asked. "The solution," Sanjay replied, activating a small demonstration. A miniature distortion appeared between 2 of the rings, shimmering like heat waves. "Everyone's been approaching wormhole physics wrong. The Council races all treat subspace as a uniform medium. And it's not." Sanjay grinned. "Not even close. It's layered, like an onion. Each layer follows slightly different rules. The elder races have been trying to brute force through the entire structure, which requires exponential energy. But if you find the right frequency." The distortion between the rings stabilized, becoming a perfect circle of swirling light before collapsing back into nothing. "You did it," Elena whispered, staring at the spot where the portal had been. "On a small scale, yes, but scaling up will require significant modifications to our systems." Sanjay's expression darkened. "And we don't have much time." The Council delegation arrived 3 hours later. 4 alien representatives entered the station's conference room, led by High Arbiter Xylox. The Arbiter's crystalline body refracted light in patterns that expressed emotions beyond human comprehension. Today, those patterns suggested severe disapproval. "Commander Reyes," the Arbiter's voice resonated directly in Elena's mind, a courtesy translation that spared humans from having to hear their true voice. "Your species has been warned repeatedly about pursuing this research." Elena straightened in her chair. "With respect, Arbiter, humanity joined the galactic community as an associate member with full research rights. The Treaty of Proxima clearly states. The treaty also acknowledges Council supremacy in matters of galactic safety," interrupted Ambassador Toll, the reptilian representative of the Draconid Imperium. 27 species have attempted what you're trying to do. 16 of those attempts resulted in system-wide disasters. The Council has voted," the Arbiter continued. "You have 30 Earth days to dismantle this facility. After that, sanctions will be imposed against all human colonies." Elena felt her heart sink. Sanctions could devastate Earth's fragile economy, potentially setting human development back decades. "You can't do this," she protested. "We have rights under the "This meeting is concluded," the arbiter stated, rising with fluid grace. 30 days, Commander. Not one rotation more." After the delegation departed, Elena found Sanjay in his lab, already packing equipment. "You heard?" she asked. "The whole station heard," he replied without looking up. "They're afraid, Elena. They wouldn't send their high arbiter unless they knew we were close to a breakthrough." 30 days isn't enough time. Sanjay paused, considering. "Maybe it is. We don't need the full station. The Explorer is already equipped with most of the systems we need." Elena stared at him. The Explorer was Titan Station's emergency evacuation vessel, large enough for a small crew, but equipped with state-of-the-art propulsion and life support systems. "You want to convert the evacuation ship into a wormhole generator? That's insane." "Yes," Sanjay agreed with a small smile. "But humans specialize in insanity, don't we? It's why the Council fears us. We do what their rigid thinking says is impossible." 3 weeks later, Elena stood on the bridge of the Explorer, watching as her small crew of volunteers made final preparations. They had moved the ship to the dark side of Enceladus, one of Saturn's smaller moons, hoping to hide from Council observers long enough to complete their test. "All systems nominal," reported Lieutenant Maya Chen, the ship's tactical officer. Her fingers moved quickly over the controls, making last-minute adjustments. "Power levels?" Elena asked, turning to Chief Engineer Diego Alvarez. "Holding at 30%. Diego replied, his usual jovial expression replaced by intense concentration. "If Dr. Mehta is right, that's all we'll need." Sanjay sat at the main science station, surrounded by displays showing complex equations and field projections. "The math is solid," he said, answering her unspoken question. "This will work." The communication system activated suddenly. "Commander Reyes," came the voice of Admiral Hassan from Earth Command, one of the few people who knew what they were actually attempting. "Council ships have changed orbit. They'll have visual contact in 12 minutes. Elena frowned. "We need at least 15 for the full test sequence." "Then I suggest you hurry," the Admiral replied. "And Elena, good luck. Earth is with you, even if they don't know it yet." She turned to her crew. "You all volunteered knowing the risks. If anyone wants to leave, the auxiliary shuttle can get you back to Titan before we begin." Nobody moved. "Very well. Dr. Mehta, begin the sequence." Sanjay activated the modified systems they had integrated into the Explorer's cargo hold. The ship hummed as power flowed into the experimental device, a larger version of the apparatus he had shown Elena weeks earlier. "Stage 1 active," he announced. "Subspace field forming." On the main view screen, a small distortion appeared about 50 meters in front of the ship. It looked like ripples in water, a shimmering in the darkness of space. "Field is stable," Sanjay continued. "Beginning stage 2. The distortion grew, forming a spinning disk approximately 15 meters across. Instruments mounted on the Explorer's hull collected data, feeding it to Sanjay's station. "This is already 3 times more stable than our best simulation," he said, unable to hide the excitement in his voice. The ship's sensors issued an alert. "Council vessels detected," Maya reported. 5 ships moving this way at high speed. "Time to detection?" Elena asked. 4 minutes at most. Elena looked at Sanjay. "Can we finish in time?" He nodded, already entering commands. "Accelerating to stage 3. The disk in front of them pulsed, its edges becoming more defined. According to Sanjay's theory, they were creating a thin spot between normal space and subspace, the crucial first step toward a stable wormhole. "Energy usage at 28%, Diego reported. "By conventional theories, we should be at 90 at least." Sanjay smiled. "Conventional theories are wrong." The communication system activated again, this time carrying a different voice. "Human vessel Explorer," said High Arbiter Xylox, their translated voice sharp with alarm. "You are in violation of Council directives. Cease your activities immediately." Helena ignored the message. How much longer, Sanjay? 90 seconds to final stage, he replied, fingers flying over the controls. The field is almost ready for collapse into a stable wormhole. On the screen, the disk had become a perfect circle of swirling energy. Its center darkened as if they were looking into a deep well. Council ships are charging weapons, Maya reported, her voice steady despite the news. Continue the sequence, Elena ordered. Suddenly, Sanjay called out. Something's wrong with the targeting. The exit point is shifting. Shifting where? Elena moved to his station. The screen showed the planned exit point just beyond Mars orbit, but a second set of coordinates was appearing. Numbers that made no sense. Should we abort? Elena asked quietly. Sanjay hesitated. If we stop now, we'll never get another chance. The decision was made for them as alarms blared across the bridge. Energy spike. Diego shouted. The field is collapsing, but not the way we planned. The disk in front of the ship suddenly expanded, growing from 15 meters to nearly 100 in seconds. Its center wasn't dark anymore. It glowed with a bluish-white light so intense that the ship's systems automatically dimmed the view screen. What's happening? Elena demanded. Sanjay stared at his readings in disbelief. It's working, but something else is affecting it. Something's pulling from the other side. The other side? You mean Mars orbit? No, Sanjay's face had gone pale. Something much further away. Before Elena could respond, the ship lurched forward violently. Warning lights flashed across every console. We're being pulled in, Diego shouted. All power to engines. Elena ordered, grabbing her command chair as the ship accelerated. Reverse thrust. No effect. Maya reported, fighting with the controls. The gravitational pull is too strong. The Explorer shot forward, directly into the swirling vortex of light. The last thing Elena saw before the view screen overloaded was the Council ships desperately firing weapons that dissipated harmlessly against the wormhole's event horizon. Then everything went white. Beyond the void. Elena regained consciousness to the sound of emergency alarms and the acrid smell of burned circuitry. Her head throbbed as she pushed herself up from the floor of the bridge. Around her, her crew was stirring, some already checking systems and damage reports. Status, she croaked, her throat parched. Maya was the first to respond, blood trickling from a cut above her eye. All systems recovering from complete shutdown. Life support operational. Hull integrity at 87%. Where are we? Elena asked, stumbling to her feet. Unknown, Maya replied, studying her displays. Star patterns don't match any charted region in our database. Sanjay was already working at his station, face illuminated by the soft blue glow of emergency lighting. The wormhole collapsed behind us, he reported. But it was stable, Elena. It worked exactly as the theory predicted. Except for sending us to God knows where, Diego muttered, nursing a dislocated shoulder. Elena moved to the main viewport as external cameras came back online. What she saw made her breath catch in her throat. They were in orbit around a planet, a massive ring-encircled gas giant that dwarfed Saturn. But that wasn't what had captured her attention. Floating in space before them was a structure so vast it defied comprehension, a lattice of metallic beams and crystalline nodes stretching hundreds of kilometers in every direction. It's artificial, Sanjay whispered, joining her at the viewport. And ancient. The material shows signs of extreme age degradation. A station? Elena asked. More like a gateway, he replied. Those nodes, they're similar to our wormhole stabilizers, but on a scale I can't even calculate. This is what pulled us off course. As they watched, parts of the structure pulsed with faint light, as if acknowledging their presence. Life signs? Elena asked, turning to Maya. None detected, the tactical officer replied. But there's a breathable atmosphere being maintained in several sections of the structure. Elena considered their options. The Explorer was damaged but operational. They could potentially attempt to recreate Sanjay's wormhole experiment and return home. But standing before them was the greatest discovery in human history, perhaps the key to the very technology the Council had forbidden. Prepare an away team, she decided. Sanjay, you're with me. Maya, you have the bridge. If anything goes wrong, your priority is getting the ship back to Earth, with or without us. 2 hours later, Alina led a small team through the cavernous hallways of the ancient structure. Their environmental suits were sealed as a precaution, despite readings indicating the atmosphere was breathable. The walls were covered in writing, symbols that seemed to shift and change as they moved past. These aren't static engravings, Sanjay observed, scanning the walls with his equipment. There's some kind of dynamic projection, still functioning after what must be millions of years. The corridor opened into a vast chamber dominated by a central platform. As they approached, the platform illuminated, projecting a three-dimensional map of the galaxy. It's a navigational system, Sanjay said, excitement making his voice tremble. Alina, this is a transit hub, a waypoint in what must have been a galaxy-spanning network of wormholes. Lights began to appear across the galactic map, thousands of them, each representing what they assumed were other stations. Most were dark, but a few still glowed with faint light. Who built this? Alina wondered aloud. As if in response to her question, the center of the platform shimmered, and a figure appeared, a hologram of a being unlike any alien species humanity had encountered. Its form was vaguely humanoid but composed of what appeared to be pure energy contained within a crystalline shell. Welcome, travelers, the figure spoke, its voice resonating directly in their minds, much like the High Arbiters had. You have accessed Gateway Station 7342, a node in the Precursor Transit Network. It's responding to us, Alina whispered. This automated message activates when non-precursor species achieve independent wormhole travel, the hologram continued. If you are receiving this message, your civilization has reached a critical developmental threshold. The hologram gestured, and the galactic map transformed, showing historical data, the rise and fall of countless civilizations across millions of years. The network once connected all sentient worlds, the hologram explained, but it was shut down when the entropy war began. The precursors departed this galaxy 3.2 million years ago, but left the network intact for future species to rediscover when ready. Sanjay moved closer to the platform. Why was access restricted? Why didn't they leave instructions? The hologram turned toward him. Not all paths are beneficial to follow. Those who control the network control the galaxy. The precursors learned this at great cost. The presentation shifted, showing images of devastation on a cosmic scale, entire star systems collapsing, planets shattering. The final protocol required sealing knowledge of low-energy wormhole physics from premature discovery. The hologram said, guardian species were selected to enforce this protocol until natural development allowed for safe rediscovery. The elder races, Alina realized. The Council. They weren't preventing us from developing the technology because they wanted to control us. They were protecting us, Sanjay finished, from ourselves. Before they could process this revelation, the station trembled around them. Alarms blared from their equipment. Commander, Maya's voice came through their communicators. Multiple wormholes forming around the station. Council ships are coming through, dozens of them. Alina turned to Sanjay. How is that possible? I thought they couldn't track us. They didn't need to, he replied grimly. They followed the activation signal. This station just announced our presence to the entire galaxy. The hologram flickered, its expression changing to one of concern. Warning. Network security breach detected. Quarantine protocols activating. The station shuddered more violently. Lights began to flash red throughout the chamber. What's happening? Alina demanded. This station has been dormant for millions of years, Sanjay explained, frantically checking his readings. Our arrival triggered automatic systems. Now the Council ships are triggering security protocols designed to prevent unauthorized access. Commander, Maya's voice came through again, more urgent. Something's emerging from the central structure. Automated defense systems. They're targeting all ships, including ours and the Council vessels. Elena made a quick decision. Everyone back to the Explorer. Now. Sanjay, download whatever data you can. As they rushed back through the corridors, Sanjay managed to interface his equipment with a console, copying massive amounts of information in seconds. Outside, the first exchanges of fire were visible through viewport panels. Council ships engaging with ancient defense platforms that had awakened from eons of sleep. By the time they reached the Explorer, 3 Council ships had already been destroyed. The Explorer itself was under fire, its shields barely holding. "Get us out of here," Elena ordered as they reached the bridge. "The wormhole technology," Sanjay said, breathless from their sprint. "I have the complete data. The Precursor's version is far more advanced than what we developed, but the principles are the same. Can you get us home with it?" He nodded, already moving to his station. "Give me 5 minutes." As Sanjay worked, Elena opened a communication channel to the Council ships. "This is Commander Elena Reyes of the Earth vessel Explorer. The station is activating ancient defense protocols. We need to retreat immediately." After a moment of silence, a familiar voice responded. "Commander Reyes." High Arbiter Psylocke sounded different. There was fear in their mental voice. "You have violated the most sacred prohibition. Do you understand what you've unleashed?" "We understand more than you think, Arbiter," Elena replied. "And we know why the prohibition exists now. But this knowledge can't be buried anymore. Help us escape, and we can work together to manage the consequences." There was a long pause. "The gateway is destabilizing," Sanjay reported. "The security systems are overloading the power core. At this rate, the entire structure will collapse in minutes, taking everything nearby with it." Finally, the Arbiter responded. "One chance, humans. Follow our lead precisely." On the main view screen, the remaining Council ships formed a protective formation around the Explorer, their advanced shields absorbing fire from the ancient defenses. "Wormhole calculations complete," Sanjay announced. "But the interference from the station is too strong. We need to get further away." Elena nodded to Maya. "Full thrust. Get us clear of the structure." The Explorer accelerated away from the dying station, escorted by Council vessels. Behind them, the massive gateway began to break apart, energy discharges arcing between its components. In range, Sanjay said once they'd reached a safe distance, initiating wormhole sequence. A familiar distortion appeared before the Explorer, smaller than before, but perfectly stable. Beyond it, they could see the familiar rings of Saturn. "Council ships are standing down," Maya reported with surprise. On the communication channel, the High Arbiter spoke one final time. "Return to your world, humans. We will follow. There is much to discuss about your place in the galaxy now." As the Explorer entered the wormhole, Elena looked at Sanjay. "Was it worth it?" she asked quietly. He glanced down at his datapad, which contained the complete knowledge of the Precursor's wormhole network, technology that would change everything. "That depends," he replied, "on what we choose to do with it." The Explorer emerged in familiar space, the rings of Saturn glittering in the distance. Behind them, Council ships followed, not as pursuers, but as escorts. Humanity had broken the impossible barrier. What came next would depend on wisdom, not just ingenuity. As Elena opened a channel to Earth, she wondered if humans were truly ready for the responsibility they had just claimed. But ready or not, the future had arrived.